The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the dusty yard of Meadowbrook Healing Stables. Charlotte Abbott wiped her brow with the back of her hand, eyes scanning the horizon as the last light of day began to fade. The barn door creaked open behind her, and she turned sharply. "Is anyone there?" she called, her voice trembling slightly. "Show yourself!" Silence answered her, thick and oppressive. The air smelled of sweat and hay, a pungent reminder of her hard work and dreams that seemed to slip further away each day. She shook her head, trying to shake off the unease. The evening breeze whispered through the tall grass, but it wasn't the wind that caught her attention. A flicker of movement near the barn door sent a jolt of adrenaline through her. Doubt crept in like a shadow. "What in tarnation?" she mumbled, stepping closer. The last thing she needed was trouble tonight. But as she approached, her heart sank. There, in the dim light, stood a wild horse, a stallion, tall and proud, with a glossy black coat that reflected the twilight like polished obsidian. But his eyes, oh, those eyes, they were empty, haunted. "Easy there," Charlotte said softly, holding her palms out. She stepped closer, and the horse flinched, backing into a corner of the paddock, muscles taut and ready to bolt. "I ain't gonna hurt you, I promise." But trust was a tricky thing. She wanted to believe, but life had taught her the hard way that trust could lead to heartbreak. Still, this horse needed her, and somehow she needed him too. In that moment, she felt an undeniable connection, a spark of hope amidst her despair. Just then, a muffled voice broke the quiet. "Gran, is that you?" It was Olivia, her granddaughter. "Yeah, it's me," Charlotte called back, her voice steadier now. "I found a horse. Or he found me." "You reckon he's lost?" Olivia asked, stepping into the barn, her brow furrowed with concern. "Looks like he's been through hell," Charlotte replied, her voice dropping. "He don't trust anyone." "Can you blame him?" Olivia said, stepping closer to the paddock. The horse's eyes darted back and forth, wild and untrusting. "He probably ain't ever known kindness." "I know how that feels," Charlotte whispered, memories rushing back, of lost love, of the ranch slipping through her fingers. The horse backed further into the corner, snorting and stamping his feet. "I ain't here to hurt you," Charlotte called, frustration bubbling up. "If you run, you'll just end up in worse hands. You don't have to be afraid." But the stallion wasn't listening. He thrashed his head, the sound echoing against the barn walls. Charlotte felt her heart race. "Come on, boy. Just give me a chance. Let me help you." "What if he don't want help, Gran?" Olivia said, a note of fear creeping into her voice. "Then we'll have to earn his trust, one step at a time." Charlotte knelt in the dirt, letting the weight of her vulnerability settle over her. "I'll try if you will." With that, she reached a trembling hand toward him, palm open. The horse sniffed the air, taking a cautious step closer. "It's okay, buddy." The barn door swung open, and Charlotte's hand moved to her rifle. "Show yourself," she called, her voice steady, despite the fear bubbling inside her. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows, and the air felt thick with tension. A storm was brewing. She could taste it on her lips. "Just me, Grandma," came a familiar voice. It was Olivia, her granddaughter, stepping into the barn with a sun-kissed face and dirt-streaked overalls. "I was just checking on Midnight. He's been acting up." Charlotte took a breath, the scent of hay and leather grounding her. "Is he still skittish?" she asked, trying to mask the worry in her tone. "Yeah, but he's got a spark." "I think he might come around," Olivia replied, walking toward the paddock where Midnight's verdict stood, a giant black figure against the fading light. The horse shifted nervously, backing into a corner. His intelligent eyes darted around, searching for escape. "Easy, boy," Olivia murmured, holding out her hand. "I ain't gonna hurt you." Charlotte watched, a knot tightening in her stomach. She wanted to trust, but trust had burned her before. Memories of her father's death, the farm slipping through her fingers, all came flooding back. "What if he bolts, Olivia? We can't afford that. Not now." Then we'll deal with it, Olivia said, her voice firm. He needs us, just like we need him. Charlotte felt a pang of shame at her hesitation. The barn was full of memories of laughter and warmth, but lately it felt hollow. Midnight's spirit mirrored her own, both of them caught in cycles of doubt and pain. The wind howled outside, rattling the barn doors. Dust swirled in the dim light, and for a brief moment all she could hear was the sound of Midnight's hooves shifting on the wooden floor. She stepped forward, heart racing, the roughness of the barn's floor under her worn boots grounding her. "What are you doing?" Olivia asked, glancing back. "I'm going to try," she replied. "Just give me a moment." She approached the paddock, feeling the rough wood against her palm. "Hey there, Midnight," she said softly, her voice almost lost in the wind. The horse's ears perked up, but he remained tense, muscles coiled, ready to spring. "I know you've been through hell, just like me." Olivia stepped back, watching quietly as Charlotte held her breath. She reached out, palm open. The horse backed into the corner further, eyes wide with fear. One wrong move and he'd bolt, or worse. "Come on, big guy," Charlotte coaxed, her heart pounding in her chest. "You ain't got to be afraid of me. I'm not here to hurt you." Seconds ticked by, and just when Charlotte thought he would remain unreachable, Midnight took a tentative step forward. His powerful body quaked slightly. She could see the scars on his flanks, evidence of the struggles he'd faced. Charlotte swallowed hard, feeling tears prick her eyes. "I've lost a lot, too," she whispered. "But maybe we can help each other." A moment hung between them, charged with unspoken promises. The barn door creaked open, and May Turner stepped inside, heart racing. Dust motes danced in the fading light, settling like memories around her. "You in there, Rusty?" she called softly. The horse's ears flicked towards her voice, but he remained hidden in the shadows, a silhouette against the weathered wood. The familiar scent of hay mixed with the earthy musk of leather saddles filled the air. May could feel the weight of her worries pressing down on her, bills piling up, whispers from the townsfolk. "I can't lose you too," she whispered, knowing the odds were stacked against them. A rustle came from the corner. Rusty stepped into the dim light, his powerful frame trembling with uncertainty. Fear won that round. His coat, once a brilliant chestnut, was now dull and matted, just like May's spirits. "Come on, boy," she urged, extending her hand. "It's just me." But Rusty backed away, eyes wide and full of fear. She remembered the stories of his past, the brutal training sessions, the harsh treatment by those who didn't see his worth. "I ain't here to hurt you," she said, her voice steady. "I just want to help." As she moved closer, the wind howled outside, rattling the barn walls. Rusty flinched, his muscles tensing. May stopped in her tracks. "I understand," she murmured, feeling a lump in her throat. "Trust ain't easy, is it?" Just then, the sound of hoofbeats echoed from outside, the rattle of wagon wheels trailing behind. May's heart sank. Not now, she thought, knowing Tom Hackett had been lurking, eager to claim the ranch for himself. "Rusty, we gotta hurry." The horse's nostrils flared, taking in the scent of the intruders. She could sense his fear mirroring her own. "Trust me, we'll get through this together," May whispered, moving closer until their breaths mingled in the cold barn air. Rusty leaned forward, his soft muzzle brushing against her palm. For a moment, everything faded, the worries, the threat looming outside. May felt a glimmer of hope, but it was quickly snuffed out by the sound of heavy boots thumping toward the barn. "You think you can hide that horse from me, May?" Tom's voice boomed, dripping with arrogance. She clenched her fists, taking a deep breath. "He's not yours, Tom. You ain't got no claim here." The door swung open, and Tom stepped in, flanked by two men who looked all too ready to enforce his will. "Well, I reckon I do now," he sneered, eyeing Rusty as if he were a prize to be won. "That horse ain't worth the trouble you're putting into him. May felt the rage bubbling within her. "You don't know a damn thing about him," she shot back. "He's worth more than you'll ever understand." Tom laughed, a cruel sound that echoed in the cramped space. "You think your little dreams will save this place? It's just a matter of time before the bank takes it. And that horse. He'll be auctioned off to the highest bidder, just like you." "Don't you dare touch him," May shouted, instinctively stepping in front of Rusty. The horse pressed against her side, as if seeking comfort from her courage. The barn door swung open, the gust of wind carrying with it the chill of a coming storm. Charlotte Abbott stepped inside, her heart racing. "Rusty!" she called, her voice echoing against the wooden walls. Silence answered her, wrapping around her like an old blanket that was starting to fray. A sudden sound, a soft thud, came from the far corner. She turned, her senses heightened. Rusty stood there, trembling, his intelligent eyes wide with fear. "Come on, boy," she coaxed, taking a step forward. "I ain't gonna hurt you." The horse backed into the corner, eyes wild. One wrong move, and he'd bolt. Or worse. She could see the scars on his flanks, remnants of a hard life that had stripped him of trust. The barn smelled of hay and leather, mixed with the tang of sweat from a long day's work. She could feel the rough wood of the barn door pressing against her back, grounding her. "I reckon we both know what it feels like to be scared," she murmured, her voice gentle. "I lost my father last summer, and ever since, it's been just me in this place." Rusty's nostrils flared, and for a moment she thought she saw something flicker in his eyes, recognition or maybe understanding. "You ain't alone in this," she continued, taking another cautious step, her heart pounding like the gallop of a distant horse. "I lost everything too, but we can rebuild, can't we?" Rusty shuffled back, hooves scraping the dirt floor. "Please, just let me show you," she whispered, her hand reaching out slowly. "Just one step." At that moment, the wind howled through the barn, rattling the old tin roof. Charlotte closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and felt the weight of her grief settle on her shoulders like a heavy saddle. "You've been through hell, Rusty. I can see it. But you and me, we're survivors. We need each other." She stepped closer, the barn creaking under the weight of their shared history. "You ain't got to be afraid of me," she promised, feeling a tear slip down her cheek. "I want to help you, I truly do." Then, out of nowhere, Rusty took a hesitant step forward, Charlotte's breath caught. "That's it, boy," she encouraged, her heart racing. "Just a little closer." He paused, then nuzzled her palm with his soft muzzle. Charlotte gasped, a rush of warmth flooding her chest. "Oh, Rusty, you did it!" Her heart swelled, and she laughed, the sound foreign and joyful in the quiet barn. For the first time in months, I smiled, but just as hope began to bloom, a rumble of hoofbeats echoed in the distance. Charlotte stiffened. "What the—" She could hear them clearly now. Riders, at least 6 of them, coming fast. Panic washed over her, cold as the wind outside. "Rusty, we need to move!" she shouted, but the horse stood frozen, sensing the tension in the air. "I need you to trust me." The thundering approached, closer now. "Why can't they just leave us be?" she breathed, scanning the horizon for any sign of their pursuers. In that moment, she felt more isolated than ever, just her and a horse against the world. The barn door creaked open, and Charlotte Abbott stepped inside, her heart racing. "Rusty," she whispered, scanning the shadowy corners of the stable. The wild stallion backed into the farthest corner, his breath quickening, eyes wide and wary. "It's just me," she said, holding out her trembling hand. "I won't hurt you." But Rusty wasn't convinced. He tossed his head, the muscles in his neck tense, ready to bolt at a moment's notice. Charlotte swallowed hard, remembering how many times she'd been betrayed. "You ain't alone in this," she murmured, taking a cautious step closer. We've both got our scars. The smell of hay mingled with the earthy scent of the horse, filling her lungs. Dust particles danced in the shafts of late afternoon sunlight, illuminating the battle lines drawn between them. She could feel her hands shaking, the rough texture of the rope she'd been using to coax him feeling foreign in her grip. "Trust me, Rusty," she pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know what it's like to be scared." Rusty stood rigid, his powerful body coiled like a spring. With each heartbeat, the tension escalated. She could see the scars running along his flanks, remnants of a past life filled with abuse and neglect. "You ain't just a horse to me," she said, feeling the heaviness in her chest. "You're more than that. Just give me a sign that you want to try." Suddenly, a soft nuzzle against her palm sent shivers down her spine. Rusty had taken a small step forward, his intelligent eyes searching hers, like he was trying to decipher a code only they shared. She chose to stay. "Yes, there you go," she encouraged, her heart swelling with hope. "Just a little more, big guy." But then, a sound shattered the fragile moment, the clatter of hooves echoing outside, growing louder by the second. Charlotte's heart sank. "What now?" she muttered, looking toward the barn doors. Her hands clenched around the rope. The distant voices of men grew closer, harsh and brash. A flash of dread washed over her. "They can't take you," she said urgently, her voice rising. "Not again!" Rusty's ears flicked back, sensing her fear. He shifted restlessly, moving further into the shadows. "It's okay," she assured him, though her own heart felt anything but. "We'll figure this out together. Just trust me." The barn door swung open abruptly, and two men stepped inside, their faces grim and determined. Charlotte's breath caught in her throat. They were rough-looking ranchers, the kind who saw horses as mere property, not living souls. Well, look what we got here," one of them sneered. "Looks like the little lady's making friends with a broken-down beast." "Get out!" Charlotte snapped, her voice firm despite the quiver in her heart. "You ain't welcome here." The second man took a step closer, eyeing Rusty with contempt. "That horse ain't worth the trouble. We're here to collect debts, Miss Abbott." "You think you can just keep him after all this? He belongs to Bart Sullivan now." "Bart can't have him," she replied, clutching the rope tightly. The barn door swung open. Charlotte's hand moved to her rifle. "Show yourself," she called, her voice echoing against the wooden beams. The stillness of the Montana night felt heavy, almost suffocating. Dust motes danced in the moonlight, swirling like memories she couldn't shake. A rustle broke the silence. "It's just me, May," came a voice from the shadows. Charlotte relaxed a little, lowering her rifle. It was just May Turner, her neighbor and closest friend, peeking cautiously through the doorway. "Thought I told you to stop sneaking up on me," Charlotte said, trying to mask the tremor in her voice. May stepped inside, brushing her long, dark hair away from her face. "You didn't seem too keen on company today, so I figured I'd keep my distance." Charlotte leaned against the barn wall, arms crossed. "I ain't good company right now. Too much on my mind." The scent of hay and leather filled the air, mixing with the cool breeze that slipped through the cracks. "Still thinking about midnight?" May asked, her brow furrowing. "Yeah," Charlotte sighed, looking toward the paddock where Midnight's verdict stood alone, his once glorious coat dulled by neglect. "I reckon he's more than just a horse to me. He's like me, you know, just trying to find his way." "But you've been at this for weeks," May replied, her voice softening. "What if he never trusts you?" The horse backed into the corner, eyes wild, nostrils flaring. The thought sent a chill down Charlotte's spine. "He will," Charlotte insisted, her heart pounding. "I can feel it. I just need to find a way in." She stepped closer, heart racing as she extended her hand, palm up. "Midnight. Come on, boy. I ain't gonna hurt you." The stallion flicked his ears but didn't move. "You sure this is a good idea?" May whispered, Concern etched across her face. "Trust me," Charlotte replied, teeth clenched. "I can't give up on him." In that moment, Charlotte felt completely alone, surrounded by shadows and the weight of her decisions. But just then, Midnight took a cautious step forward, his beautiful yet scarred face coming into the light. The soft nuzzle of his muzzle against her palm sent warmth through her. "See," she said, trying to mask the tears in her eyes. "He's just scared." "He ain't the only one," May murmured, her gaze shifting to Charlotte. "You're scared too." Charlotte's chest tightened. "Every time I think I've got it figured out, life throws a curveball. It's just hard, real hard." She glanced back at Midnight, who stared at her with those deep, troubled eyes. "But I have to try, for both of us." Suddenly, a creaking sound echoed from outside, causing Midnight to rear back. Charlotte's heart leaped into her throat. "What was that?" she whispered, tension creeping back into her muscles. Before May could answer, the barn door flung open again, casting shadows across the floor. A group of men stomped in, boots muddy and worn. "What's going on in here?" One of them barked, a sneer on his lips. The barn door swung open, the wind gusting through the cracks like a warning. "Show yourself," she called, her voice steady but laced with dread. She'd heard the rumors. The riders were getting bolder, looking for strays. Rusty, the wild horse she had come to know, stood in the far corner of the paddock. His coat gleamed under the slanting rays of the sun, but his eyes were wide with fear. "Hey there, boy," she whispered, stepping forward carefully. "It's just me. We're safe here." He backed into the corner, muscles coiling like a spring. "Don't do it," she murmured. "I'm not here to hurt you." Her heart raced as she extended her hand, palm up, a truce in the air between them. Rusty sniffed the air, his nostrils flaring, but he remained tense. Charlotte swallowed hard. "I know you've been through hell," she said, her voice softening. "But you can trust me, I swear it!" "Just take a step closer," she urged. "You ain't got to be scared anymore." For a heartbeat, he hesitated, then slowly edged toward her, the dirt crunching beneath his hooves. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. She crouched down, hoping to show him that she meant no harm. The scent of hay filled her nostrils, mingling with the earthy aroma of the barn. Suddenly, a noise echoed outside, a shout, followed by the thud of hoofbeats. Charlotte's heart sank. "Not now," she muttered, scanning the horizon. "This can't be happening." Rusty froze, his ears flicking back, eyes wide as he sensed danger. "We're all right, boy. Just stay with me." Her words were a desperate promise, but she could feel the panic rising in her throat. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I won't let them take you," she said firmly, though doubt gnawed at her insides. The last thing she wanted was for him to bolt, to be lost again in a world that had turned its back on him. "They're coming fast," she thought, heart racing. The sound of laughter drifted through the still air, cruel and taunting. "I won't let them take you," she repeated louder this time. "You hear me, Rusty? We're in this together." She stepped closer, feeling the rough wood of the fence against her palms. Rusty shifted nervously, his dark eyes searching hers. "You've got to trust me," she said softly. And in that moment, she wanted to trust too. But trust had burned her before. Then, the barn door creaked open wider, and 3 shadowy figures stepped inside, silhouetted against the sun. Charlotte's heart pounded in her chest. "Get behind me, Rusty!" she shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "What's a wild horse doing here, Abbott?" One of the men sneered, stepping into the barn like he owned the place. "You know this ain't no place for a creature like that." "He's mine now," Charlotte replied defiantly, standing her ground. The men laughed, and one of them stepped closer. "You think you can tame a beast like that? You ain't fit to own land, much less a horse." The barn door swung open. Charlotte Abbott's hand moved instinctively to the rifle slung across her shoulder. "Show yourself," she called, her voice steady, but her heart raced. Shadows stretched long across the dusty ground as the last light of day faded. Rusty, the wild horse she'd found hiding in her paddock, stood trembling in the corner. The once proud stallion was now a mere shell of his former self, eyes wide and fearful. One wrong move, and he'd bolt. "Come on, boy," she coaxed softly, hoping to break through the fear that clutched at him like a vice. "I ain't gonna hurt you." He shifted back, a skittish lump of muscle and pain. Charlotte's heart ached for him. He reminded her too much of herself. After losing everything, she understood what it felt like to be trapped. "You know, I lost my dad just last year," she murmured, leaning against the wooden post of the barn. "So trust me, I get it. It ain't easy." Rusty took a tentative step forward, his nostrils flaring as he caught her scent. The smell of hay mixed with the earthy musk of horse sweat filled the air. A memory of her father flashed through her mind, a kind hand resting on her shoulder, whispering, "Trust is built, not given." "Guess we're both a little broken, huh?" she said, wiping a tear from her cheek. The wind howled outside, rattling the barn door. But within these walls, there was a fragile hope. Charlotte reached out, palm upturned, fingertips brushing against the coarse wood of the fence. The rough texture grounded her, reminding her she had a purpose here. Rusty's large, intelligent eyes narrowed as he stepped closer, his breath warm against her skin. "That's it. Just a little more," she encouraged, feeling the weight of his fear mirror her own. As he ventured nearer, she felt the connection pulse in the air around them. Two wounded souls searching for solace. Suddenly, the barn creaked ominously, drawing her attention. "What was that?" Charlotte whispered, heart pounding. Rusty froze, his ears flicking back at the sound of hoofbeats in the distance. The serenity shattered like glass. "No, not now," she muttered, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Just then, the barn door swung open again, and a group of men entered, their faces stern and hard. "There you are, Abbott," one of them barked, his voice dripping with malice. "We've been looking for you." "Got something that don't belong." "What do you want?" she snapped, stepping protectively toward Rusty. The stallion's muscles tensed, and he took a step back, fear cascading through him. "You best back off," she warned, raising her rifle slightly. "This horse ain't yours to take." "Don't get feisty now, girl," the leader sneered, taking a step forward. "That horse ain't worth more than a pile of dirt. You ought to sell it before you go broke." "You don't know anything about him," Charlotte retorted, determination igniting within her. "He's got a spirit worth more than you'll ever understand." Rusty backed away, eyes wild, and she felt his panic rising. The barn felt smaller, the air thick with tension. The barn door swung open. "Show yourself," she called, her heart pounding as she stepped inside the dim light of the stable. The chill of the evening air mixed with the warm, earthy scent of hay and leather, reminding her of simpler times before life turned upside down. A low whinny echoed through the barn. She turned to find Rusty, the wild horse they'd been working to tame, pacing nervously in his paddock. His dark coat glimmered like obsidian, but his eyes, those intelligent yet haunted eyes, betrayed his troubled past. "Hey there, big fella," Charlotte said softly, forcing herself to breathe. "It's just me." She approached cautiously, aware of the fragile trust between them. Rusty backed into the corner, his nostrils flaring. "Don't be scared. I won't hurt you." But would he trust her? After everything she'd lost, it was hard to let anyone or anything close. What remained was possibility. She wanted to reach for him, to let their bond grow, but fear tugged at her heart. She could still hear the words of the townsfolk ringing in her ears. "You're wasting your time with that horse. He'll never be right." Rusty pinned his ears back, shifting uneasily. One wrong move, and he'd bolt. She could feel the weight of her own doubt hanging heavy in the air. "I reckon we both got some scars, huh?" She rubbed her palm on her jeans, trying to steady her nerves. With a deep breath, Charlotte stepped closer, ignoring the prick of anxiety running down her spine. "You ain't alone anymore," she whispered, extending her hand toward him. The rough wood of the paddock fence dug into her palm as she leaned forward, desperate for that connection. Slowly, Rusty relaxed. He took a tentative step forward, curiosity gleaming in his eyes. "That's it," she murmured, her voice a gentle caress. "Just a little closer." The scent of sweat mixed with the sweet smell of alfalfa hung heavy in the air as she leaned in, feeling their tension shift. "See? Ain't so bad, is it?" She felt a smile tug at her lips as he edged nearer, nostrils flaring. For a moment, everything else faded away. The pain, the loneliness, the looming threat from Wade Connors, the rancher who sought to claim this land, and everything she held dear. But then, the world came crashing back. A rattling sound outside made her heart race. She stiffened, straining to listen. What now? The last thing she needed was trouble. Rusty snorted, stepping back again, his instincts flaring. "Come on, buddy. You can trust me," she urged, reaching out again. Just then, the door creaked loudly as it opened fully. Two men stepped inside, their faces shadowed, but their intentions clear. "What do you want?" Charlotte challenged, instinctively moving closer to Rusty. She could feel his tension echoing her own. "Word around town is you're in over your head, Charlotte," one of them, a smirking goon named Jake, said as he cracked his knuckles. "This horse ain't worth much. You should think about selling him. Save yourself some trouble." "Not a chance," Charlotte shot back, every word a defiance of her own fears. The barn door swung open. "Where are you?" She called into the dim light, hoping for an answer that didn't come. The wind howled outside, rattling the old barn like a ghost of the past. She'd moved to this broken-down ranch with dreams of starting over, but so far, it felt more like running away. Dust motes danced in the fading light as she crossed the threshold, her boots crunching on the straw-covered floor. The musty smell of hay mixed with something else. Fear. Or was it just the promise of another long night alone? "You're just a scared mare," she whispered to herself, trying to push down the cold knot of anxiety in her stomach. "Just like me." Her gaze fell on the paddock. The horse, a striking chestnut with a tangled mane, shifted nervously. "Rusty, huh?" she muttered, recalling the name scribbled hastily on the paperwork she'd received. But Russ didn't describe the beauty standing before her. There was raw power in his strong legs and wild spirit, yet his fearful eyes told a different story. She took a tentative step closer. Rusty backed away, eyes wide, ears flicking nervously. "Easy now," she soothed, holding out her hand. "I ain't here to hurt you." The horse snorted, pawing the ground, and Charlotte felt a pang of empathy. Memories of her father's heavy-handed ways flickered through her mind, reminding her of the pain hidden beneath every heartbeat. Charlotte took another cautious step, feeling the rough wood of the fence under her fingers. "Come on, boy," she coaxed, her voice barely above a whisper. "We can figure this out together." She closed her eyes for a moment, picturing the bond they could share, the freedom they could find. Rusty seemed to sense her longing. He paused, nostrils flaring as he took in her scent, the earthy smell of leather mixed with sweat, a sharp contrast to the sterile air of the stables. His big, intelligent eyes studied her, and for a fleeting second she thought she saw recognition flicker in them. Then a loud bang echoed outside, and Rusty reared back, panic surging through him. "Whoa, boy!" Charlotte shouted, stepping back instinctively. The horse whinnied, darting into the far corner of the paddock, eyes wild. Her heart raced as she reached for the rope hanging from the fence, feeling the cold roughness beneath her fingertips. "I'm not going to hurt you," she insisted, slowly approaching. "I promise." Rusty trembled, and she could see the fear etched into his body. It's okay, she murmured, trying to drown out the tension crackling in the air. Then, with a moment of bravery, she tossed the rope over the fence, letting it dangle. Just come over here, we can take it slow. He hesitated, taking a few cautious steps toward her, still uncertain. Charlotte held her breath. You ain't got to do anything you don't want to, but I need you to trust me. The barn door swung open, and Charlotte Abbott squinted against the fading light of dusk. Show yourself, she called, gripping her rifle. The wind howled through the cracks, and a chill settled in her bones. She stepped inside, heart pounding, expecting trouble. Charlotte. A familiar voice broke the silence. It was Mr. Briggs, the town shopkeeper, stepping through the threshold, his face weathered and anxious. You reckon you've seen those riders yet? Not yet, she admitted, glancing toward the paddock where Rusty stood, his powerful frame outlined by the dim light. But I can feel it in my bones. Something's coming. They're circling, waiting for the right moment, Briggs said, glancing nervously out the door. You know they want your land, don't you? I can't let them take it, she replied, her voice trembling. This place is all I have left. She clenched her jaw, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill. In the distance, the soft rustle of hay swayed as the wind picked up. Charlotte approached Rusty, who nuzzled her palm with his soft muzzle, a gentle reminder of the bond they were trying to forge. You're my only hope, big guy, she whispered, leaning against his warm side. I need you to trust me. Rusty's eyes were wild, and he backed into the corner of the paddock, nerves taut. It's okay, boy, she urged, her voice soothing despite her own rising panic. I won't hurt you. Just stay with me. She reached out, her fingers grazing his scarred coat, feeling the tremors beneath the surface. He flinched, then calmed slightly as she took a deep breath, grounding herself. I can't afford to lose anyone else, she murmured, her heart aching with the weight of past losses. We've both been through hell. I need you to help me fight. With each passing moment, the atmosphere grew heavier. The scent of leather from her saddle filled the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of hay. Suddenly, the distant sound of hoofbeats echoed through the night. Charlotte's heart raced. They're here, she said, fear creeping into her voice. Time to move, Briggs urged, stepping closer to her. We have to keep them away from Rusty. Just as she turned to grab a rope, the barn door creaked on its hinges, swinging open wider as if inviting trouble. Charlotte, Briggs shouted, pushing her behind him. Get to Rusty! Keep him safe! She didn't hesitate. Come on, boy, she called to Rusty, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. She moved swiftly, hands outstretched, ready to catch him if he bolted. But Rusty remained still, watching her with cautious eyes, his trust still wavering. Please, we've got to do this together, she urged, just like we practiced. The wind howled again, bringing with it the earthy scent of dust mixed with the sharp tang of sweat. The hoofbeats grew louder, a thunderous reminder of the approaching threat. Briggs stood firm, fists clenched, ready to defend what little ground they had. The sun hung low in the Montana sky, casting long shadows across the barn. Charlotte Abbott leaned against the weathered doorframe, her heart racing. It don't feel right, she muttered, eyes scanning the dusty paddock. Rusty, the wild horse she had been trying to tame, flicked his ears nervously. Come on, big fella, she coaxed softly. I'm not going to hurt you. She stepped inside, the scent of hay mingling with the sweat from her own brow. Every time she approached him, doubt crept in like a cold wind. But Rusty was more than just a horse. He was her lifeline, tethered to a past she wanted to forget. You and me, we're in this together, she murmured, reaching out with a trembling hand. He backed away, eyes wild and panicked, kicking up dust as he sidestepped. The barn felt smaller in that moment, constricting around her. Darn it, Rusty! She exclaimed, frustration boiling over. You can't keep running from me. I ain't like them other folks who turned their backs on you." He snorted, steam curling from his nostrils in the cool evening air. It hit her like a thunderbolt. He wasn't just a scared animal. He was a reflection of her own fear. "I get it," she whispered. "You want to trust, but trust has burned you before, huh?" With every step closer, Rusty flinched. Charlotte could feel the thick tension between them, palpable and electric. "I ain't here to break you," she insisted, her voice a mere breath. "Just let me in." As if to answer, Rusty edged closer, curiosity piqued. She held her ground, heart pounding in her chest. "That's it, boy. Just breathe." The scent of sweat mixed with the fresh hay, grounding her. Suddenly, he nuzzled her palm, the warmth of his muzzle sending a wave of relief flooding through her. "I knew you had it in you," she laughed, tears brimming in her eyes. But the joy was short-lived. A distant rumble broke the moment, the sound of hooves thundering toward the barn, shattering the fragile peace they'd just built. "Show yourself," a voice barked, one she recognized all too well. It was Tom Hackett, the wealthy rancher with a penchant for trouble. Her gut twisted as she turned toward the sound, fear gnawing at her resolve. "Tom!" she shouted, her heart racing. "What do you want?" "Just checking in on my property," he replied, stepping into the barn like he owned the place. "Looks like that horse of yours is wasting away. Might be best to cut your losses, Charlotte." "No!" she protested, stepping protectively in front of Rusty. "He's not yours to take. He's finding his way back, just like I am." Tom's laugh was cold, a jagged edge cutting through her confidence. "Finding his way. He looks more like a lost cause." His eyes gleamed with contempt, and Charlotte felt her heart sink. The stallion whinnied, sensing the tension. Rusty took a step back, and Charlotte's hand shot out instinctively. "Stay with me, boy," she urged, but doubt flared in her chest. She'd fought so hard for this moment, and now it was slipping through her fingers like sand. The wind howled through the cracked windows of the barn, carrying a chill that crept into Charlotte's bones. She stepped forward, the old wood creaking beneath her boots. "Rusty, you better settle down now," she murmured, reaching out to calm the nervous horse. His coat shone in the dim light, a stark contrast to the dusty interior. The mare whinnied softly, her intelligent eyes darting around the shadows. "Ain't nothing out there but us," Charlotte said, her voice steadier than she felt. She could almost hear the whispers of the past echoing in the barn walls, reminders of what she had lost. Rusty backed up, muscles tensed, instinctively aware of the encroaching storm outside. "Easy, girl. Just breathe," Charlotte soothed, stepping closer. The smell of hay and leather enveloped her, familiar yet haunting. "We're safe here." But deep inside, she felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on her. "What if it ain't enough?" she thought, memories of her failed ranch flickering like the dim light overhead. Trust had been a fragile thread, frayed and worn by betrayal. "I reckon we gotta stick together, huh?" she whispered, gently stroking Rusty's neck. He leaned into her touch, a brief moment of connection that sent warmth coursing through her. "That's right. You and me against the world." Suddenly, a sharp noise broke the quiet, hooves thundering closer. Charlotte's heart raced as she shot upright. "No, not again!" she cried, rushing to the door. The sound grew louder. "Rusty, stay here!" she commanded, the barn door creaking ominously as she flung it open. The sky was darkening, swirling clouds blotting out the last rays of the sun. It felt like the world was collapsing around her. She spotted figures in the distance, silhouetted against the storm. "Show yourself!" she called, clutching the rifle she had kept close. The barn's shadows danced menacingly, flickering like ghosts of her past. "I won't let you take what little I have left!" The riders were closing in fast, their faces obscured by the swirling dust. Fear clenched at her throat. "I can't lose Rusty," she thought, panic rising like a tide. The horse whinnied again, a sound filled with instinctual dread. "Rusty, no! Stay back!" But the mare was already edging toward the door, drawn by the commotion. "You don't understand," Charlotte pleaded. "It's not just about you or me. We're in this together." She grasped the rough wood of the doorframe, grounding herself against the storm brewing outside. "Come on, girl," she urged, feeling the vibrations of the hooves like a distant drumbeat of impending doom. Rusty hesitated, her eyes wide and wild. "It's just them or us," Charlotte whispered. "You know what they want. Don't give in." Rusty nuzzled her palm, and Charlotte closed her eyes. "For once, trust me," she whispered. "I need you to trust me." The sound of the riders faded for a brief moment, and in that stillness, Charlotte felt a spark of hope. "Maybe we can stand our ground," she thought. The barn door swung open. "Show yourself," she called, her voice slicing through the quiet Montana dusk. It felt like the world had slowed, the air thick with tension. She stepped cautiously into the barn, heart pounding against her chest. It was then she spotted him, Midnight's Verdict, standing in the corner, his body trembling, eyes wide with fear. "Easy there, big fella," she said softly, inching closer. "I'm not here to hurt you." The faint scent of hay and leather surrounded her, mingling with the earthy smell of the horse. As she extended her hand, he backed away, pressing against the wooden beams like a prisoner. "You're just like me, huh?" she whispered, feeling an ache deep in her chest. Scared to trust again. Charlotte remembered her own battles, the nights spent in her empty house, the ache of losing everything she held dear. "Come on, Midnight, I ain't gonna hurt you," she coaxed, her voice gentle like a summer breeze. But he shifted, muscles tense, every fiber of his being telling her to stay back. "What happened to you?" she murmured, feeling the weight of his past crashing into her own. Just then, the barn creaked under the gusting wind. "This place ain't so bad," she said, trying to ease the panic clenching her heart. "You can trust me." For a moment, Charlotte thought she saw a flicker of recognition in his intelligent eyes, a glimpse of the horse he used to be before all the hurt. "I reckon we're both a bit broken," she chuckled, wiping a tear from her cheek. With each careful step, Charlotte reached out, fingertips brushing his scarred muzzle. Midnight flinched, but didn't pull away. "See, I ain't no threat," she whispered, her breath catching in her throat. "Just a soul looking for a friend." The soft warmth of his breath washed over her, and she felt the churning storm inside her settle just a little. But in that quiet moment, Charlotte heard it. An unmistakable sound of hoofbeats echoing in the distance. "Oh no," she muttered under her breath, a cold wave of dread washing over her. The confidence that had filled her moments before was replaced with a gnawing fear. "Who could that be?" she asked, her voice trembling. Midnight turned his head sharply, ears perked, sensing the danger before she did. "We need to hide," she urged, stepping back and scanning the barn for a safe spot. The noise grew louder. "Damn it!" she cursed, hurriedly scanning the paddock as she moved toward the door. "If they find you, they'll take you away. I won't let that happen." She glanced over her shoulder, determination igniting in her chest. Midnight's eyes met hers, filled with a mix of fear and something else. Something she dared to hope was trust. "I'll protect you," she promised, swallowing hard. But in that very instant, the barn door burst open, and silhouettes appeared against the fading light. "Charlotte!" a rough voice called, unmistakably Wade Connors, the local rancher whose greed knew no bounds. "You hiding that horse? You know he's worth a pretty penny." Her heart raced. The barn door swung open, and Dorothy's heart raced. "Wesley, come back!" she shouted, watching her young charge slip past her into the paddock. The evening sun dipped low, painting the Montana sky in hues of orange and purple. She couldn't lose him. Not now. Midnight's Verdict stood at the far corner, his massive frame illuminated by the fading light. His eyes were wide, nerves dancing beneath his glossy coat. "You can't be in there, Wesley! It's not safe!" Dorothy cried, her voice trembling. Wesley, with his usual resolve, was already kneeling in the grass, his small hand reaching out toward the troubled stallion. "It's okay, Midnight," Wesley said softly, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "I'm not going to hurt you." Dorothy's chest tightened. The horse backed away, ears pinned back, eyes wild with fear. No, don't scare him," she whispered to herself, dread pooling in her stomach. One wrong move, and Midnight could bolt, or worse, hurt the boy. She stepped forward cautiously, glancing at Wesley, who continued to inch closer. "Wesley, come back to me, sweetie," she urged, the rough barn floor creaking beneath her worn boots. The smell of hay mixed with the damp earth filled her nostrils, grounding her in the moment. "I'm not scared, Grandma. He needs a friend," Wesley said, undeterred. The air thickened with unspoken tension. Midnight snorted, pawing the ground, sweat glistening on his dark coat. "You don't know what that horse has been through," Dorothy murmured, her heart aching for both of them. Then, with a cautious gesture, Wesley extended his hand further, palm open. "It's okay, Midnight. I promise," he whispered, his small voice holding an unfathomable power. To her astonishment, the horse paused, leaning ever so slightly toward the boy's outstretched hand. The moment felt electric. Wesley's eyes sparkled with determination, while Midnight remained still, uncertainty etched across his brow. "You see that, don't you?" Dorothy breathed, her fingers brushing against the cold wood of the fence. "He just needs time." Suddenly, Midnight took a single step forward. Dorothy held her breath. Would this be another moment of rejection, another scar for the horse, another heartbreak for them all? She could feel the weight of his pain, deep like the Montana sky. "Come on, boy," Wesley coaxed, a lightness in his tone. "Let's be friends." In that instant, Midnight's nose touched Wesley's palm, and a collective sigh of relief escaped Dorothy's lips. "Just like that," she whispered, tears prickling her eyes. For the first time in months, she felt hope bloom in her chest. But just as she began to smile, a rumble of thunder rolled through the air. The once peaceful evening darkened, clouds gathering overhead. "Oh no, a storm's coming," Dorothy said, glancing up. "We need to get you back inside, Wesley." "No, he needs me." Wesley's voice was resolute, unwavering against the impending chaos. The barn door swung open. Charlotte Abbott stepped inside, the chill of the evening air clinging to her skin like a bad memory. "Where are you, Rusty?" she called out, her voice trembling with equal parts hope and dread. As she moved deeper into the barn, the scent of hay mixed with something sharper, fear. A low whinny echoed from the shadows, and Charlotte's heart raced. "It's okay, boy. I'm not here to hurt you," she whispered, holding her hands out in front of her like an offering. Rusty backed into a corner, his eyes wide and wild. "Easy now," she said softly. "Just breathe. We've both been through hell." She took a step closer, the dusty floor creaking under her boots. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced across the wooden beams. The last light of day felt like a fleeting promise, and Charlotte could feel her chest tightening. She'd lost so much, her family farm, her dreams, and now it seemed she might lose Rusty too. That thought made her stomach twist. "I know what it's like to be afraid," she murmured. "But I need you to trust me." Rusty snorted, still tense. "Just a little more, please," she urged, inching forward as she remembered the first time she'd seen him. The beautiful stallion had been nothing but skin and bones, spirit crushed by a world that didn't understand him, just like her. "Trust ain't come easy for either of us, huh?" she said with a soft chuckle, trying to lighten the moment. Charlotte knelt down, letting her palms rest on the rough, splintered floor. "But I reckon it's worth a shot, don't you?" Slowly, Rusty's head lowered, his nostrils flaring as he caught her scent. Charlotte felt a flutter of hope. "That's it, big guy," she encouraged. "Just one step at a time." The barn was still, except for the sound of her breathing and the soft rustle of hay. Then came the unmistakable sound of hoofbeats, heavy and urgent. Charlotte's heart dropped. "What now?" she whispered, standing up abruptly. "Rusty, get back." She scanned the entrance, her instincts kicking in. The wayward whispers of the wind told her more trouble was coming. Tom Hackett's men were known for their ruthlessness, and they'd heard about her struggle to save the ranch. "They can't take you from me," she said firmly, her resolve hardening. Rusty backed up again, hooves scraping against the dirt. "No! Don't run!" she cried, panic rising. "I won't let them take you!" Just then, she heard voices approaching, low and menacing. "Did you see her? She's got a fancy horse now," one voice taunted. "We should take it, teach her a lesson." Charlotte felt a surge of desperation. "Rusty, please," she pleaded, feeling the cold sweat trickle down her back. "I need you to trust me." Rusty's ears flicked, his gaze still darting around the barn. Then, as if he heard the urgency in her voice, he took a tentative step forward. "That's it, boy," she breathed, tears pricking her eyes. "You're not alone. Not anymore." The barn door creaked ominously, shadows shifting as the men drew closer. Charlotte's heart raced. Charlotte wipes her brow and leans against the fence. Rusty stands in the pasture, tail swishing lazily. The scars are still there, on both of them, but the wild look in his eyes has softened. He turns toward her as if to say, "I'm ready." And maybe, just maybe, so is she.